Today we're going to begin the study of the reproductive system. We're going to focus today entirely on the male reproductive system and its function in the production, storage, and delivery of spermatozoa and the production, storage, and release of the male sex hormones. The minor role is the last portion of the excretory system for urine. We'll touch on a little bit, but primarily we're going to be interested in the anatomy and the physiology of reproduction. The first thing we really ought to look at is the embryology and the development of this system, because there are such marked similarities and what are known as analogs between both the male and the female. And at a certain point in the development, you really can't tell them apart. Let's look at the first slide. This shows the undifferentiated stage, which is about 5 weeks of gestation. Here we have the entire area called the genital tubercle, which is very, very small, and this is, again, a schematic representation. The area represented in this orange is called the glans area, which will change. Then we have this area called the urethral folds and a groove up the middle. And finally, something called labio-scrotal swelling on both sides. Again, because this is the same in both the male and the female. The very bottom here is what's going to become the perineum, which is the space between the anus and the base of the sexual organs, and the anus will form back here. We're looking almost straight on and a little bit upward. If we move on to the 10-week embryo, we start to see some differentiation taking place. This area is going to become the glans penis, or the head of the penis, while the exact same analog in the female will eventually become the clitoris. Then if we look down the middle, we get an elongation of the urethral folds. Remember, the urethra is the part coming out from the bladder to the outside, with a slit down the middle. And then finally a connection between the perineum and the anus, which has evolved from the same structures on both sides. In the female, the urethral folds here are going to be eventually kept open, and we're starting to get folds in what will in the female become the labia majora and minora of what is known as the vulva. Finally, just before birth, in the male development, we have complete differentiation. We have the glans penis and the external opening of the urethra. Now look what's happened down here. Along the penile shaft, those two folds above have closed completely over. We have a ridge of skin that connects this whole development of the genitalia back through the perineum and continues around the anus. There are cases where this skin doesn't close over entirely. If we look at the fold here, we would like this urethra, which connects with the bladder, to be closed. There's a condition called hypospadias. And when this fails to close in the male, instead of urine coming out of the tip of the penis, out the end of the glans where it should, it actually leaks from this point. It's just a failure of closure of that analog, and that's surgically corrected right after birth. In fact, this is something that is a matter of correcting at just the right time when the baby is born, so that we have enough tissue to work with to close these cases of hypospadias. If we look at the female at the same time, the large area that was the glans in the male has now become rather small, becomes the clitoris, and then we have the external labia here and the internal labia here, or the majora and minora, and this part remains open as the vaginal opening. And then we have the same connection through the perineum with the anus. So this area in the middle is called the perineum, or the perineal body. Now that's the development of the external organs of sexual reproduction.